Have you ever read a picture book and thought, wait, haven't I seen this before? Not in a plagiarism lawsuit kind of way, just in a this feels very familiar kind of way. That's because picture books follow recognizable plot structures, story patterns that authors, illustrators, and let's be honest, publishers use over and over again. And honestly, for very good reason. These structures work. They build tension, they keep kids engaged, and make sure that the story actually feels satisfying instead of just ending. Hey everyone, I'm Nick, and this is Dr. Cranky Pants Reads, and today we're pulling back the curtain on the plot structures that shape picture books. And if you're thinking, but picture books are just for kids. First of all, rude. And second, these structures are everywhere. The more you recognize them, the better you'll understand why certain books work and why some just don't. So, let's get into it. Most picture books have, at best, 500 words to tell a complete, compelling story. For reference, that's less than the script I am currently reading thus far. This means that every word has to pull its weight, and it also means that the illustrations do a ton of storytelling work. Pacing has to be perfect, especially for read-alouds. And that's where plot structure comes in. It's the framework that holds everything together. It's why if you give a mouse a cookie, feels just perfectly timed and not like an unedited ramble about a rodent-based snack acquisition. So what are these magical structures? Let's start with the classic, linear stories. This is the traditional plot structure, a clear beginning, middle, and end. A character has a problem, tries to solve it, fails repeatedly, and then figures it out at the last moment. Think of it like a toddler learning to put on their shoes. They try and fail. They try again, fail harder. They scream a little. And then eventually they figure it out. Or someone helps them, but in a picture book, it better be them. Let's take an example. This Is Not My Hat by John Klassen. A little fish steals a hat. He's pretty sure he'll get away with it. Spoiler, he does not get away with it. The tension builds step by step, leading to that inevitable Klassen-style ending where the adults in the room laugh nervously while the kids just know. Then there's the loop, or circular stories. A circular story ends exactly where it began, but something has changed. These books are deeply satisfying because they give readers that full circle moment. And also, kids love recognizing patterns. For example, if you give a mouse a cookie, the mouse gets a cookie, which leads to milk, and that leads to a nap, and that leads to another cookie request, ultimately. And suddenly we're right back where we started. Except now, everyone is just more tired. Which is also a great metaphor for just parenting in general. Next up, we have the adventure model, also known as a journey story. And a journey story is exactly what it sounds like. A character leaves home, faces challenges, and comes back changed. It's a staple of storytelling because, well, at its core, it's about growth. And growth is hard, especially when you're 3 feet tall and your biggest life challenge is figuring out how buttons work. Where the Wild Things Are is a great example. Max gets mad, runs away to the wild things, becomes king, then chooses to return home, having changed but still very much himself. And like any good journey, there's a moment where the main character almost stays in their new world, but ultimately realizes that home is waiting. Even if that home involves still being sent to bed without supper. Then we talk about the buildup, or cumulative stories. Cumulative stories are a bit like Jenga towers. made of words, and every new event stacks on top of the last, making the story more and more ridiculous until either A, it ends in chaos, or B, resets itself for the next read through. Let's go back to If You Give a Mouse a Cookie as another example. Look, it's a classic for a reason. Every action triggers a new event, and by the time we're near the end, we've built an entire tower of absurdity. Another great example, The House That Jack Built. Literally, a stacked narrative. These books encourage participation. Kids can predict what's coming next, which is half the fun. Next, let's talk about the personal touch, or diary and letter stories. Sometimes the best way to tell a story is through the main character's own voice. In diary entries, letters, or hilariously biased retellings. An example would be The Diary of a Worm by Doreen Cronin. Told in short, funny diary entries, we get an inside look at a worm's world from the worm's perspective. It often adds humor because we're getting their version of what happened. It encourages kids to write down their own journals and letters. Another fun one, Dear Mrs. LaRue by Mark Teague, where a dog writes deeply dramatic letters home from obedience school, insisting he's being tortured while the illustrations show the truth. He's basically at a dog spa. Because unreliable narrators? Hilarious. So why does any of this matter? Recognizing these structures helps us do a couple of things. It helps us understand why certain stories feel so satisfying. It also helps us predict what might happen next. Additionally, when we can appreciate how structure and storytelling work together, it can lead to deeper understandings of the books we're engaging with. And if you're reading picture books with kids, ask them to predict what's going to happen next. Is this a journey? A looping story? A buildup? Point out the patterns. Do things repeat? Does the story follow a set cycle? Talk about endings. How does it connect to the beginning? Because once you start noticing how stories are built, you'll never read a picture book the same way again. Let's talk. What's a picture book that perfectly fits one of these structures? Do you have a favorite journey story, circular story, or cumulative story? Drop it in the comments down below, and let's keep the conversation going. I'll see you in the next one.